What is up, New York Giants fans, Big Blue Nation? It's Robin Donald. This is Nerding Out Sports, and the New York Giants are 7-2. Another one of those games where you can say it wasn't pretty, wasn't perfect, but it was enough. The Giants get the W for the seventh time this year, and what's up to new logo for Tony Clark? He changed his social media logos to the Giants. A good game to you, sir. It was it was a fun one, actually, to be honest. A little back and forth here and there. It was a lot closer than I wanted it to be, but a win nonetheless. Where do we start? Defense, 4 sacks, big takeaways. Like, it seemed like they were getting one every drive there in the fourth quarter. Who stood out to you on the defense today?
Dexter Lawrence. One name. He was a one-man wrecking ball. Guy was playing like Aaron Donald today, man. The amount of pressure that he caused, the amount of mayhem that he caused, the interception that we got in the late in the game from was it Pinnock?
It was Belton.
Belton, sorry. When Belton got the interception, that was caused by Dexter Lawrence. Massive hit. He was a one-man wrecking ball. And so he definitely stood out to me, but Pinnock had 1.5 sacks. Jalen Smith had a really good day. We needed one of our linebackers to step up. He certainly stepped up for me. I was happy with him. Dory Jackson was absolutely terrific. He was just locked down. Like, you couldn't get anything past Dory. So yeah, those were the main guys that really stood out to me. Moreau had a really good game too. So yeah, we have to be happy with what we got from defense. The defense was absolutely immaculate. Most particular Dexter Lawrence, absolute animal performance. How many sacks? 2 sacks from him.
He had just one, but seemed like he was involved in all 4.
He was in everything. Yeah.
He was in everything, like you said. He was an absolute monster out there. He would be my pick, but I do want to give a shout out to Leonard Williams. I think he played outstanding today. It was probably his best game of the season, considering he missed a few. And then since he's come back, he hasn't really been the Leo that we know and love. But today he looked to be like he was 100% again. And I don't want to put any assumptions out there, but it looked like he was moving faster. He was moving better. It was the best we've seen him since week 1. So it's definitely a good sign, because we talked about it yesterday. The key to stopping the run, because the Giants have had so much trouble with it this year, is a healthy Leo. A healthy Leo and a healthy Dexter in the middle of that line, and we had that today. And, Pierce got a couple of runs against us. They didn't run like crazy, though. He had the 44-yard run, but you take that away, I know it's still there. But aside from that, he had 16 carries for 50 yards. It wasn't the worst day out there. We forced a fumble. The run defense has looked really good the last couple of weeks, and I think having a healthier Leo out there has certainly helped that. So, but yeah, man, Dexter was fantastic. Jihad Ward had a good game again. Kayvon, once again, not showing up on the stat sheet, but like the first play of the game, he got a pressure. He was just bringing it from the get-go, and he's still getting held. They're still not calling it, but at this point, we're just going to have to live with it. But yeah, man, defense, I think, had a really good day, and it was enough to get the win, man. That's it. They did what they had to do. Takeaways, like 3 straight drives, pick, fumbles, all those things. It was a great job by the defense. Wink Martindale, can't say enough about the job he's done with these guys.
Well, we did feel going into this matchup that our strengths matched up really well with their strength, and obviously their strength is Pierce, right? But we matched really well with that because we've got a really good D line. Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams. You got linebackers. You got Thibodeau, and Ward's had a good year. That's our strength. It really is, and we got a lot of good pressure up the middle, and we caused a lot of problems, forced fumbles. Sacks, a lot more sacks than we normally get. 4 sacks. Could have had a lot more, actually, to be honest. We did a good job, but that's why I felt that we matched up really well with the Texans, just with our strengths, which was with stopping the run. And yeah, Pierce did his thing, but we did enough to hold him in check, and we get the dub. There's obviously issues offensively, which we'll need to get into, but in defense, it was as great as you could have possibly have asked for. It was almost perfect.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into Tony's comment here. He said the Texans' defense in the first half was great, and the Texans had no problem moving the ball down the field. In the second half was encouraging, but we can't turn the ball over twice in the red zone and expect a W. That's a very key point right there. Obviously, the takeaways at the end of the game, deciding factor there. But to turn it over to the offense, we get the stop to start the game. Offense goes right down the field, gets a touchdown. And you're like, okay. Defense gets another stop, and you're like, put them away. We could have put them away in the first quarter, for being honest. And they had that drive where they were in Texans territory and they moved backwards. They had that trickery that turned into fuckery with Wandale. He loses 5. They just kept moving backwards. I was like, what are they doing? It was really questionable play calling by Kafka, and they ended up having to punt, and they punted twice in Texans territory, and you're like, you got to put points on the board on those drives. This game could have been over before it even really started. Luckily, it didn't hurt us, but the Texans were starting to make some moves. They were starting to get down the field. But if we're going to look at the positives for the offense, Daniel Jones had a really good game. Only threw the ball 17 times, but for a $197, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Saquon ran for 152. I think you were right on the nose with that one. And he did have a touchdown. And Darius Slayton might have had the play. You said it in the text. You texted me. The play of the season. An unbelievable play. Daniel Jones gets walloped. Somehow gets that throw out to Slayton, who breaks 2 tackles just to get the first down, and then takes off for, what was it, a 56-yard score? 54. So, I mean, play of the year.
It was the play of the year for me. And first of all, celebratory drink.
That's
to
right.
a man. Here we go. 7-2.
Yes,
congratulations, man.
Fantastic.
I got my ginger ale. What have you got?
Got my Prime energy drink. It's actually really good. I was surprised.
Oh, okay. We are back. We are better than ever. Right. The Slayton touchdown. Jones did so well, man. So Slayton was available in the check down, and he did so well, staying strong in the pocket, absorbing just a brutal hit from at least 2 guys. It might have been 3. He got absolutely just ransacked, but he held strong enough in the pocket to get that ball out to Slayton somehow. And somehow Slayton managed to force a missed tackle, and then he was off to the races. And then he nice little sidestep to force a second missed tackle, and then he went all the way into the end zone. That was the play of the year for me on offense for the Giants. Certainly, there's not much competition in terms of passing touchdowns. That was the one. Obviously, Saquon's got a couple of phenomenal touchdowns, but I think just in terms of somehow Jones absorbing that monster hit, getting the ball out to Slayton, and Slayton just going and doing his thing. It's just an amazing story, Darius Slayton. It really is, because let's not forget that he went into this year inactive. At one point, it was looking like he was going to get traded. At one point, it looked like he was going to get cut. I don't believe he was. He was certainly not in our plans in week 1. And now he's our wide receiver 1, and it's not close. He's also our wide receiver 2, 3, 4. He is basically.
He really is. Was he inactive? I think he was definitely inactive week 1. I don't remember if he was inactive week 2 or not. But no, you're right.
He was.
He's our number 1 receiver, and then he's number 2 because Now, Isaiah Hodgins, here's another thing. Isaiah Hodgins, who we just picked up, played his first game. He has more receiving yards on the season on 2 catches than Galladay does.
And all year. And in 2 catches, I mean, that doesn't say a lot for Galladay.
I mean,
we will get into Galladay, but credit to Joe Shane, right? Because he picked up Moreau. He's turned into our lockdown outside corner. That was one of my big worries going into this year when we lost Bradbury. I was like, how the hell are we going to replace Bradbury?
Yeah.
And Moreau's been just as good. He's actually had a better year. Moreau's had a better year this year than Bradbury had for us last year. And it isn't particularly close. Moreau's just been sensational. What a pickup. Unfancied, cut by the Texans. But Moreau did say he wasn't a scheme fit for the Texans defense, and he seems to be a scheme fit for Wink and the Giants D. So yeah, that was a good pickup. And then of course, Joe Shane picked up this receiver. Again, Hodgins. He's a good scheme fit for Dable and Kafka, and with his time at the Bills. So that was a good pickup. And he's already got more yards than Kenny Galladay all year long. So yeah, he could turn out to be an important piece as the weeks go on. But that was a nice pickup. He had a good game. He showed decent hands and made the plays that was necessary. So yeah, credit to him. But it's all about Slayton. It's an amazing turnaround for him. I mean, for someone that was inactive at the start of the year, to now being our only focal point in terms of the passing game, it's truly a remarkable turnaround. And he deserves a hell of a lot of credit, man, because his attitude is phenomenal. He didn't feign injury like Kadarius Toney. He didn't drop everything that was going towards him like Kenny Galladay. He waited for his opportunity. He worked extra hard, and then he was given the opportunity, and now he's balling out. So I can't say enough for the guy. I don't think anyone had Darius Slayton wide receiver 1 in our bingo card this year, and that is what he is. So I get a really good game today.
Yeah, we can't say enough about it because we already said it. We've said it multiple times. The fact that he went from potential trade piece to potential cut to inactive, and now he's number 1 receiver on the depth chart. So, I mean, good job by Slayton. Very, very happy for him because last year and the year before, after 2019, the guys had butterfingers. He's just been dropping everything. And now it seems like the Evan Ingramitis has moved on to Galladay because he can't catch a damn thing that's thrown his way. And joining us now, from Big Blue in the Bronx, the boys in the Big Apple, is Alex. As usual, we have Alex joining us for the victory stream. Alex, it's good to see you again. Had a victory nap he was taking, so how was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it felt good. I mean, I haven't taken a lot of victory naps this season, but anyway, I mean, man, good game with the Texans. Good game, Tony. I know he was in the chat earlier. Repping Big Blue. Well, I'd love to see that.
It's really beautiful.
It's really beautiful to see.
Tony, he's a good sport. Tony is a very good sport, and he deserves a lot of respect. Good job, brother.
Yeah, that's why I opened up with a good game. But, defensively, even though Moreau maybe gave up a touchdown, I just didn't have an issue with what we were doing. You could look at stats and say, well, Mills passed over for 300 yards. I don't have a problem with that because at the end of the day, we only gave up 16 points. And how much did it actually equate to the final score and the actual game? Offensively, I mean, Saquon is Saquon. We all know. Unfortunately, I was in the car on that Darius Slayton touchdown, so I could only see the replay and not enjoy the energy live. But I was listening to it on the radio, and then when I heard 45-40, and then Bob Papa counting down and then touchdown, I basically was just so happy. But yeah, great win. There's definitely some stuff to clean up, though. I'm not gonna doubt that at all. The interior of the defensive line deserves massive credit as well.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're absolutely right. And a shout out to Blue City Empire Sports in the chat. Tony says he's still here and that Mills only had 30 passing yards in the first half. So the defense was doing its job in that first half, and they gave up a couple of points and they gave up some yards, but Texans were forced to throw late in the game because it was still a game. Even though we had multiple chances to put it away, it was still a game. And so you have to throw the ball really in order to come back from a multiple possession deficit. So I'm not surprised that he threw for over 300 yards. Our defense still has holes. It's not like this defense is perfect. Yeah. They still have, it's not Swiss cheese necessarily, but there's a few holes in that defense, and you can expose, especially with the linebackers. I mean, Jordan Akins is torching us for 40-plus yards. That's going to help the stat line a little bit.
Screens, that was probably the worst part. Like every screen I counted, maybe except for one where Darnay Holmes made a tackle for a loss. I mean, we need to improve on that vastly.
Yes, absolutely. The tackling has been a big issue for a very long time with this team.
Though they're actually the team in the league that is the fewest in missed tackles. So it's just when we miss tackles, it's very critical. Yeah, like the touchdown to Walker against Seattle, and then here today, Akins on a screen, a tight end screen. Man, that's brutal.
But let's focus on the positives. Alex, how good was Dexter Lawrence?
I totally adore him. A lot of the holding penalties that they committed were on him. I can't really identify many other holding penalties that weren't on him. Kenyon Green, Justin McCray towards the end of the game. He is lights out. He is completely awesome. There was 2 straight runs, and the Texans knew it. There were 2 straight runs where Dexter Lawrence was not on the field, and it was Justin Ellis. This speaks to the defensive line depth issues that we do have. And Nick Williams, I think, would have done a half-decent job, but Dexter Lawrence wasn't on the field, and Dameon Pierce was just going down. He went down to I think it was a 20 of the 10-yard line, that one drive with the big run, and then Dexter Lawrence comes back in the game, and he makes a tackle for a loss. So, I know we obviously had some miscues earlier in the year with Leo out, but Dexter, man, I mean, he just lives in the backfield every single play. I think he's got 6 sacks on the season. He needs to be sent to the Pro Bowl.
Big Blue Empire Sports. Saquon Barkley just said at his press conference that he wants to retire as a New York Giant. Saquon also said the rumor is true that they are working on a long-term extension.
That news came out before the game. Thank you very, very much for that, Blue City. I remember who it was that report. I think it was Garofolo and Rappaport came out with it and said that they, during the bye week, they had at least the framework for discussions. So if they revisit it in the offseason, which they will, they at least have a starting point. So that's great news because we know
table talks. They're going to pick it up.
And that's big because we know Joe Shane wants to bring back. He mentioned it during the bye week press conference. They want to take care of their own, and that's what he does a lot. He re-signs his own guys. So Dexter Lawrence has to be on that list. We know Saquon's on that list. McKinney will probably be on that list, and Julian Love. We still don't know about Daniel Jones, but Andrew Thomas, absolutely. But it's great news that they are talking to Saquon because they know how important he is. If this offense is going to work for multiple years, he has to be a part of it.
Yes. So sorry to interrupt because obviously that was a good message in the chat there. But Dexter Lawrence is a one-man wrecking ball, caused absolute mayhem in the interior. Just the amount of pressures and then the quarterback hits and tackles for a loss, sacks, the whole thing was all on Dexter Lawrence.
Stat whenever you're ready. So credits to Gridiron Media. Dexter had 8 pressures today. I mean, we've gotten to the point where he actually is a game wrecker.
Well, that's right. And as I mentioned to you before you just left to Rob, just before you came in, he had everything to do with Dane Belton's interception. It was his monster hit allowed the ball to float and get picked off. So, 8 pressures. Absolutely ridiculous.
I'm very happy at the fact, and I know Luca, if he's in the chat or if he's in the room with you, he'll appreciate this, that both New York defensive tackles right now that were in the same draft class are absolutely dominating the league.
Well, first of all, he's kind of taking a siesta. That's one. Two, more than I don't know that he's necessarily happy about it, but he always like picks on me. He's like, "Oh, we could generate pressure with our front four. Oh, well, we got our defensive lineman is better than your defensive tackle. Quinn and Williams is better than Dexter Lawrence." I'm like, you know what? They do equal enough of duties for their team. So, I good that they're both good. Okay, that's what I'll say.
What Dexter Lawrence is getting better at, especially this year, is his pressures. He's not just a run stuffer. He's so much more. He's really developed his game these last 2 years, especially. But this year is just he's on another level entirely. He's just a one-man wrecker in the interior. And you got Leonard Williams, who, as Rob points out, he had a good game today as well. This is our strength. And I always feel good about matching up with teams that aren't overly good in the air, but have a dominant run game. I feel pretty good about that kind of matchup because I think we match up really well with that. Just look at the Titans. Just look at the Packers. Just look at the Ravens. We match up really well against teams that just run riot on the ground, but we have guys that can stop that in their tracks. And if you force them to put the ball in the air, I feel pretty good that we can hold off because Adoree Jackson's having a freaking terrific year. So he's been just great these last few weeks, Adoree Jackson, and especially this game. I thought he was great.
No, I thought he was solid as well. I mean, even though Moreau gave up the touchdown and maybe Adoree gave up a catch, I mean, he was just constantly there. There was the one play he was on multiple like comeback routes when it was either Nico Collins or somebody else. He could have had a pick six on the right side. I mean, he was just on the ball every single opportunity he got.
Mm-hmm.
He's once again, shout outs to him for stepping up because once again, we didn't know if he was going to be a good corner one. Obviously, punt return is a separate story, but man, he's not going to go to the Pro Bowl because he's not as recognized and he doesn't get the interception numbers, but silent Pro Bowl. That's what I think.
One person who's not going to get a silent Pro Bowl is Andrew Thomas. Another absolute monster block to allow Saquon to run free on the edge on the left side. That was an absolutely monster run block right there. He's just amazing. All pro year. Best left tackle of football.
Oh, there's no debate at this point. He's probably the only one because Jones was getting pressured a lot. The Texans were bringing some blitzes and they were getting to him. And we talked about it already on that Slayton touchdown. He got obliterated when he threw that ball. But a lot of the pressure was coming from that right side. Tyree Phillips had a rough game. Glowinski, we know pass blocking is not his strength. We are desperately missing Evan Neal right now. We're missing Brad Bredesen as well because he was really playing so well at that left guard position. So when we get healthy on the offensive line again, I don't think we'll have to worry too much. But the one constant, Andrew Thomas, no matter who he goes against, he is dominating. All pro, best left tackle in football. He needs to be extended immediately, even though we know we're picking up his fifth-year option, but he needs to be extended as soon as possible because the guy just continues to get better. Somehow, each week, he looks better than the last. The guy, he's incredible, and I'm very, very glad that we got him, and I'm very glad we can finally say we got a franchise offensive lineman here because it's been a good 15 years or so since we could say that.
I mean, I was only particularly impressed by two offensive linemen. Today, that was Andrew Thomas and Feliciano. Feliciano had one seal block that allowed Saquon to run free. He had a good game. Zudu missed a couple of blocks that could have sprung Saquon. I'm still not overly high on him necessarily, but Feliciano had a better game. He struggled all year, but he had a better game this time. Andrew Thomas is absolutely ridiculous. And please, Evan Neal, please come back because Larry Phillips. somehow managed to get a false start at their own 2. I mean,
Well,
that
back
first
like
half
Lynch.
was just such a mess. I mean, it was actually laughable. It really was. It was a laughable first half. It was just our offense was a mess. Jamie Gillen, he was punting like I would punt if I was to play in the NFL. One punt went 14 yards for crying out loud. It just went straight up in the air. He literally could have rolled it along the ground and it would have gone farther. He didn't have the special teams wasn't good in general, apart from Gano. And I loved it when he hit that field goal to secure the win. David was like, "Attaboy, Graham." And but that was basically the only highlight to our special teams because our punting game was a mess. Again, the return game's a mess. Brightwell.
We don't have a returner.
Yeah, he did not have a returner. He almost fumbled. He had to leave it. At one point, we actually asked. It was just such a mess. I can't even get into it. It was just so terrible. Nobody can return the ball. So yeah, the special teams is a disaster. What do you think about the fact that Daniel Jones only threw the ball 17 times? Now, talking Giants weren't particularly happy with that. They thought that Daniel Jones should have been allowed to throw the ball more because literally 71% of our offensive plays were handoffs to the run. So what do you think? Do you think that was the right call? Do you think that they should have tried to pass the ball more? What do you think?
Yeah. So about that, he has held the first of all off this game, and I'm usually a guy who's like even on Daniel Jones, sometimes even more towards favoring him. He has recorded the highest passer rating this season with a 153. Now I'm going to come out here and acknowledge, yes, he only threw the ball about 17 times, so that's not necessarily something all to brag about. I think that I think the whole game plan was obviously to write out Saquon.
Yeah.
That was pretty much that. If I'm going to put this in words, they're trying to pound it so much out of the now. What does that mean? They're trying to, do it and run with Saquon until it doesn't work anymore. And I think we're going to get to a point down the line where we have a team like the Eagles, the Cowboys, where running it with Saquon isn't sustainable. Like Houston, they couldn't stop a nosebleed today in terms of the ground game. We ran it 47 total times. And, sometimes you can factor in quarterback runs and stuff like that. I definitely think that Jones should have threw the ball a little bit more. They should have put it in his hands a little bit more. But once again, obviously there's some plays you could pick out as well. That running it after Wan'Dale Robinson ran 5 yards in the backfield. I mean, they just get too run happy sometimes. And, I'm still a believer. The modern NFL philosophy is just passing the ball. And I understand, whether they're high or down on Daniel Jones. But he had a solid game. He did miss 2 throws, and I'm going to be very on that. Which one to Slayton, he was wide open, and then there was one to Kenny Galladay. But overall, he was
the
solid.
Cross route that was really bad. The one where he missed Slayton was a cross route, right in the middle of the field. There was no one anywhere near him, and I'm not quite sure how he managed to miss him. That was egregious. But I mean, to be fair to him, right after that, he nailed Hodgins, and it was an absolutely perfect throw. So. You just clock it down and go, hey, one mistake, and that's fine. Because hey, listen, he did really well. He never turned the ball over. He made smart decisions with the football. Again, he's a massive improvement in that play action, and his authority in the pocket is completely different now. He's actually showing authority in the pocket. That touchdown to Slayton, he absorbed a hit that Eli Manning would absorb, and then he got it out just like Eli Manning would. So credit to Daniel Jones. So I mean, this is definitely a positive week for Daniel. Really, really good. I would have all our best plays were actually in the air, so I would have tried to find a way to pass the ball more. But I think it was very much a ball control game. They wanted to control the clock, and And it worked because in the end, the Texans were airing it out, but they were running out of time. Then there were 2 scores down. They didn't have time to get the ball back. So it worked. Our controlling the clock and controlling the possession, not turning the ball over, that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see them throw it a few more times, maybe in the first half a little bit, but you're right. They were running the ball like crazy in the second half because they had a 11-point lead, get the takeaway, you run the ball, run some clock, give it back, takeaway, run the ball, run some clock. It was very ball control, and we only actually had about 7 minutes or so of more time of possession than they did, so the running the football at the end of the game certainly worked. Do want to get into some comments. Blue City, we finally have a receiver that can catch a football, and his name is Isaiah. Isaiah Hodgins had 2 catches, already has more yards than Kenny Golladay. He says Dable will win Coach of the Year. There's no question. It's got to be
That's
Dable.
my guy. Dable is my guy.
Tony says, I'm tired of watching my team play one solid half of football, then just emoting. I would say their second half, their second half was probably better. And then he said, are you still surprised it was a 1-score victory? Look,
really
man, I was a field goal away from having the score on the nose. Okay.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into our predictions.
Because that's a very is perfectly brought up. So I had Giants 21, Texans 17. Rob, you had Giants 24, Texans 13. Alex is way off. He had Giants 26, Texans 13. And Tony was even more off. He had 19-16 to the Texans. So we can forget about Tony's. But I think we can safely say Alex didn't get his right. Now we're going to have to debate. Was it me or Rob that got it closer? So obviously I had a 4-point game, 4-point win. I kept the Giants at 21 points. But then you had 24, which is spot on. Texans 13. Let's debate it. Who got it closer? 24, 13, 21, 17.
24, 17.
I'm going to plead my own case and say I had us scoring 24 and I was right. So I got a score right. I got one of the team scores correct. Why couldn't they go for it on 4th down? You know, and miss it. Tony says,
Tony's going Rob. That's because Tony doesn't like me. So I'm still pleading my case. I got the score. I was really close. In terms of the points disparity, I was the closest.
He's got a good point. However, I'm sticking with myself.
I mean, for panel-wise, I could be the tiebreaker. So Rob's was 24-13, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Donald's was
21-17.
21-17.
So they had 16, I had 17.
Right, so, yeah. That's freaking tough. So yours was a 4-point deficit. Rob's was not a 4-point deficit. Donald's was. And then it's an 11-point deficit. Jesus Christ, right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to. I'm sorry, Donald. I'm gonna have to go with this one.
I can't believe that. I think I'm not having that. We're just gonna have to settle on a tie. I think.
Score 1 for the good guys.
I did as well, Tony. I said the Vikings were gonna win.
Did I pick the Vikings too? I'll have to get into that at some point.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So, I'm just going to call it a tie, which is fair. Okay, Daniel Jones, you had 223 yards and 2 touchdowns, Rob. All purpose. I think he pretty much nailed that.
He finished with, if my math is correct, 221 and 2 touchdowns.
Good job, Rob. So you take the win there. Alex, you had 214. Tony, you had 130. Tony's been way off so far.
Tony.
I had 240. So yeah, Rob, you can take that one. We all had Darius Slayton as the leading receiver.
We were all right, I think, right?
Of course. I mean, well, listen, what's the competition? Wandale Robinson? He runs backwards, for Christ's sake.
But I'm sorry, Donald. Did anybody have Lawrence Cager scoring the first touchdown?
No one had Lawrence Cager getting the first touchdown.
Was that his only catch? No, he had 2. Okay.
The first turnover, Alex, you had Moreau. Rob, you had Dext. I had Tips, so nobody gets that. Tony, you had Love. It didn't happen either. First touchdown, I had Saquon. Rob, you had Wandale, Mr. Run Backwards. And Alex, you had Slayton. Alex, you were very close, obviously, because Slayton did get the touchdown, but we never had the tight end, and we probably should have thought about that because that's basically Daniel Jones' outlet most of the years has been his tight end. So, but Rob nailed it with 4 sacks. Alex, you had 3. I had 5.
Shit.
We were all very, very close there. But Rob gets the W there. And then it all goes down to Saquon Barkley. I had 150 and 2 touchdowns.
He only had 1 reception for 8 yards. He had 160 total and a touchdown.
And Tony had 160 and 2 touchdowns.
He had the yards right.
Yep. Alex, you had 97, so you're off. Rob, you had 140 all-purpose. So obviously, in the battle between me and Rob, I'll take that one. Tony wins overall of the 4. But
good job, Tony.
Overall, through the week, I have to give it to Rob. I think Rob wins. Just good job, Rob.
That tie with the score is what gave me the W here.
Yeah.
Even though the panel decided I got the win, I'm just saying.
Stop the count. Stop the count.
No, turn those lights off.
Keep counting. Stop the count. Keep counting. So yeah, I think we'll give Rob the win there. But
did y'all at all see Kenny Galladay's post-game comments?
Well, he's a joker. But no, I didn't. What did he say?
They're not very. He went from like okay attitude to like not so good. So
what did he say?
I remember he was asked, at least my brother told me this, that what did you think of you not playing in the second half? Do you think you should have played in the second half? He goes, I'm going to keep that comment to myself.
Ooh, meow.
Yeah, he made a couple other snarky ones. I can't remember at this moment, but we kind of remember what the Galladay experience is. There's just no chemistry.
Well, I mean, it's a seamless segue into our next discussion. Kenny Galladay, I counted as 2 drops. Statistically, it's 1 drop. The other went through his hands. I still think it's two targets, 2 drops. Either way, he was benched.
Uh-huh.
And indisputably, he's an absolute disaster at this point.
It's I don't know what you do with him the rest of the year because it's clearly a tainted relationship with the coaching staff. Do you keep trotting him out there? Do you do what you did in the first half and like put him as like 40% of the snaps? Or do you just, let Isaiah Hodgins take his spot? I think that might be more valuable. I mean, Isaiah Hodgins has been here for 2 weeks. He's had more chemistry with Daniel Jones than Kenny Galladay has in 2 years. So I
Hodgins is a scheme fit.
Yeah.
Hodgins is a scheme fit.
Right. I wanted to get myself hyped up for the Galladay thing, maybe just like some solid impact, but nah, man, it's a lost cause. It's a lost cause at this point.
I mean, Rob, remember I mentioned in the preview show, I said I would get the ball to Galladay early to try and give him some momentum. Well, to be fair, they tried. And Galladay just went. So the game plan was there. It's just Galladay sucks. So this is now sunk cost. He needs to be cut. We need to do something about it because, I mean, let's just pray that Odell Beckham decides to become a legendary giant and re-signs. And maybe that'll force us to cut Golladay because this guy's just useless at this point. He's done.
It's a real shame. We were saying yesterday that we hope that he can we're not expecting 7 receptions, 100 yards, a touchdown, some breakout game, his first game back, but just do something. Even if he had caught one of the 2 targets, because the first one that you can call a drop, you can say, yeah, you were like, okay, you can excuse it a little bit, but the second one, that was right there. Like the ball couldn't have been thrown better. You have to catch that. Like you got 70 something million, whatever it is, 72 million. You have to catch that ball. Practice squad guys catch that pass. Like you have no excuse right there. So
Rob could catch that pass. I would expect Rob, Alex, even myself could catch that pass. It was right there.
You said I could have caught that.
Yeah, and you have to catch that pass if you're Kenny Golladay, and it's just a shame. But I do think the benching was justified. And Art Stapleton actually tweeted out during the game. I have it right here. He said Isaiah Hodgins looks just like Kenny Golladay, only younger, cheaper, and today he's catching the ball. So there you go. And it made sense. They benched him for Hodgins. Hodgins got, I think, they went his way maybe 2 or 3 times. 2 times he had 2 receptions. He caught both of them. Kenny Golladay had 2 targets. He dropped both of them, or 1.5. I don't know. However you want to put it, but
it's there's no debate now at this point. It's just an absolute albatross of a contract, complete disaster. He doesn't even look like an NFL receiver anymore. Like we're talking about a guy that doesn't gain any separation, and whenever he does, and these are on the simplest routes, and he's not even going deep downfield. It's like very simple route.
Crossing pattern.
Crossing patterns, exactly. That people, practice squad players, number 5 receivers, dudes that get cut the next day, practice squad receivers, catch that in their sleep. And Kenny Golladay on his 70 million contract can't catch a cold. So it's just really, really bad. Kadarius Toney got a touchdown for the Chiefs, so I guess he wasn't hurt after all.
Well, I mean, he was. I don't know if he was taunting the Giants or he was actually hurt, but if you take a look at it, he was limping into the end zone.
Yeah, because he's an asshole.
I said, whatever.
And he's so soft. So I really hope that he stumbles upon this and he gets to hear me saying that. You're an asshole. You're an asshole, Tony. Enjoy the Chiefs. I'm sure you will enjoy the Chiefs because Mahomes is the best quarterback in football, but you're still an asshole. Basically forced his way out by feigning injury. Complete and total.
I feel like we shouldn't have traded him to Kansas City.
Oh, he's gonna take off for the Texans. As long as he doesn't, get hurt or release any more bad rap records.
I mean, I think the Toney thing is in the past at this point.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to mention
it has to be brought up because obviously anytime he does anything, like he made that jump catch, and you're like, man, if only we could have used him. And then he makes a touchdown. You're like, oh God, imagine having a receiver that can catch the ball. But thing is, he wasn't on the field for us. Whether he was faking the injury or not, we know, according to Joe Shane, he was supposed to practice before he got traded. So he would have probably been active for Seattle. But at this point, it's just kind of to me, it's a dead subject. But Giants fans, they're going to bring it up every time he does something. So just saying, just be on the lookout for that. We'll probably have to bring him up at some point again on the show. I would like to.
I think it's just because of our wide receiver and being so barren, and the fact that Daniel Jones only throws 17 times. You have to say, we needed something from Golladay. We needed something from Toney. Toney feigns injury. Golladay can't catch a cold. So it's our top 2 options right there are complete and utter disasters. And we've turned to Darius Slayton, who was inactive in week 1, and now is by far our only receiving option. And that includes Wan'Dale Robinson, who we selected in the second round, who he reminds me of that scene in Monty Python, the Holy Grail. Run away! Run away! that was Wan'Dale Robinson. He's like, runs backwards. That was I don't know what to say about him. He's too small for the league right now, in my opinion.
It was a very strange play. That whole sequence was terrible. Once we got into Texans territory, how you move 15 yards back, there was the false start and all that. just the penalties, the fuckery from Wandale. It's just, how do you move backwards? It's get 2 yards or something like that instead of the sack, and you can kick a field goal, and you win 27-16. Tony
What are your
says
thoughts on Wandale?
Akins was the player of the game for the Texans.
Yeah.
I still think he can be good, but they need to get another weapon on the outside for him to really do anything. So maybe Hodgins can be that guy for the rest of this year, because it certainly ain't going to be Galladay. That was what I was saying in the preview, that even if Galladay is just a decoy, that's going to open up opportunities for Wandale in the slot. Didn't happen, because he only had the ball thrown his way like once or twice. Then again, most people did, because we were only throwing the ball to one player or 2 players. But it just, you have to have that threat on the outside with Slayton, because if you're focused on Slayton, then the only other receiver is Wandale. No one cares about David Sills. And at this point, nobody cares about Galladay, because it's like, he might beat you, but can he catch it? So you're not going to worry about the guy who's now, he's all in his head. Everything's in his head. It's a mental game at this point. And he's got bricks for hands at the current moment. So no one's worried about it. So you're not going to really see Wandale get opportunities until we see another legitimate threat on the outside. And Daniel Bellinger needs to be back. He's so important to this offense. If we were healthier and Galladay was actually maybe catching the ball, then I think Wandale would have been able to have a few more grabs today.
Alex, what do you think about Wandale?
Rod basically hit the nail on the head. He's not as noticeable when you don't have, when you have a bunch of ShopRite and Walmart cashiers as receivers. The one play that stood out to me, obviously, was that catch on the first drive where they schemed him open. Galladay was running the one, I don't know what it was called. It was whatever route that got Wandale open, and it moved the chains for like 5 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen anything over the middle. It's all short passes, which leads me to believe either we need better receivers around him, which we obviously do, or he maybe isn't able to create separation with his route running.
It's both.
Is a problem.
It's definitely both. There's definitely the latter, in my opinion. I just think he's a little small for the league, in my opinion. He's not really making any impression. And as you say, nothing up the middle with him. He's not really a deep threat at all. And he's not really electric. At least Tony was electric whenever we saw him, but we never did see him. Let's do a quick, very early stock report on this past draft class. Because we've actually seen a lot of talent and a lot of really great plays from our draft. Including some non-drafted guys like Timon Fox and stuff. So let's do a quick stock report, stock up on and stock down on our current draft. We'll start with Alex.
On the entire class or one by one?
One by one.
Okay, so start with Tibbs. Even though he's getting held a lot, and I did notice in this game he was being held, like that Cooks play down to the left, down the sideline to the left. I think it was in the first, second quarter. That was holding, but I feel he either needs to sell it more or just gain some production in some set. Because I know, obviously a lot of players across the NFL, they get held, they try selling it. Stock up for right now, but he's got to be more productive. Evan Neal, he's not on the field right now, but was making some vast improvements, so I could say stock up there.
For sure.
Wandale Robinson, maybe a little bit of a stock down because he just hasn't been noticeable. And I understand the New York Giants have been on and off with this passing game stuff and whatever, but he over the last few weeks, his average probably goes around 2 catches per game, which out of a second-round pick isn't necessarily ideal. But moving on, so we have that. Josh Azudu's next. I'm just like, for expectations-wise, I'm at mid with him because I don't particularly know how he played today, but he should have at least excelled because his running game is better than his pass blocking. So I'm at mid there. I'm kind of surprised that Cordell Flott did not play any defensive snaps because they were doing some stuff with Nick McLeod on the outside. You know, I thought today would have been a vast opportunity for Flott to see some playing time. Kind of
That
on
tells you everything.
Right. And then next week we face Amon-Ra St. Brown and some other threats, so we'll see how we handle that. But a little bit of a down. So I Zulu Flott. Dane Belton, I mean, he did struggle a couple of times today. There's no doubt, but that interception, that's a play that Xavier McKinney makes. We saw it so many times.
It's a terrific play.
You know, but you know, if he just gets better at covering these running backs out of the backfield and these tight ends, and he hasn't given up a touchdown, so I'm going to say stock up. Michael McFadden was a little bit more noticeable last week, not so much this week, and I'm a little unhappy about that. But hey, listen, he's a fifth round pick. You're not going to necessarily, harp too much on it. DJ Davidson, stock up a little bit for McFadden though. DJ Davidson, he's on IR. I thought he played at least solid before he got injured with the Achilles or ACL. Darian Beavers, obviously we can't judge, but Davidson, I would say about mid-level. Am I missing anybody? Well, Tamon Fox has been decent at least.
McKeithen, the guard?
McKeithen, yeah,
on IR,
you can't even say anything about him. But Tamon Fox has he's played well. He's playable. That's the thing. Even though sometimes he doesn't win reps, he puts guys in positions to make plays. So he's at least playable. And you know what? You got yourself on the roster. I'll give you a stock up.
I'm in complete agreement with you on all that. Thing is, I think we can all agree that day one was a home run. Day 3 was a home run. We managed to get productive players that is already very much involved in the game plan. In day 3, latter rounds, 5, 6, 7, undrafted, they're all doing their job. So you know what? That's a win. But I hated day 2. I hated day 2. I hated it. I didn't like Azudu. I really didn't like Flott, and I didn't understand Wandale. And that's how it is turning out for me. So they're the only 3 stock downs for me, but Tibbs, Neal, Belton, Fox, McFadden, all stock ups. Rob?
Yeah, Thibodeau, I think it's only a matter of time before he just has like one of those major 3-sack games or something like that. Because I said it in the preview, I selfishly want him to show up in the stat sheet more because he's only finishing with like a tackle or 2. And if holding calls were a stat, he would lead the league. He's just getting held every single play, it seems. And I feel like one of these days he's going to start getting to the quarterback more, and he's going to get a 2-3 sack day, and you're like, there's my dude. But stock up for me because he's still been really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
They're obviously focusing on him because you don't hold the guy that much if you're not afraid of him. And the fact that he was mimicking Mills when he's like, oh, you're scared. I love the dude. I love his energy. He's got people angry. People are saying they don't like him on Twitter. That's a good thing. When people from other teams don't like you, or fans of other teams don't like you, you got yourself something to look forward to. When people hate on your guy, that means that they secretly love him. So Tibbs, stock up. Evan Neal, mentioned it before the injury. He was playing a lot better. Sucks that he went down, but he'll be back soon. Stock up. Daniel Bellinger, same thing. He was our best player outside of Saquon.
Bellinger, of course. Yeah, he's stock up as well.
Belton, stock up. I can't say Flott for anything right now because he hasn't played. So when he gets back out there, I guess it'd be like leaning towards down because he was bad before he got hurt, but hopefully he can change that. Izudu, it's down. He hasn't made strides, and we're really missing Bredesen. I think he's better suited for that kind of like that swing role, so maybe they can put him as that extra blocker. So when we do get healthier, we'll see him probably play a little bit better. McFadden, stock up, and Wandale, right now it's down because I just feel like they're not finding enough consistency in the offense for him to even show up. And when they do try to get it his way, he's not really doing enough to be like, yeah, the stock is up. Am I missing anybody?
Belton and Fox.
Oh, Belton, stock up for me. The fact that he was probably the pick that I was like not too crazy about, and he's played really well. So I'm glad that he's shut me up. And Tomon Fox, man, undrafted. Who would have thought? He's played great. He's done whatever he's been asked to do. He's played very well. So Good for him.
And credit to the front office because he was really balling out towards the end of preseason. And maybe other front offices would have been like, well, you know what? He's not in our plans. But the Giants went with a hot hand. They were impressed by the impact he was making, and I'm glad that they gave him an opportunity. I think he's done a good job. But, yeah, I mean, it's all about Belton. I think McFadden's done a good job. And Bellinger, what an absolute steal. Absolute steal. So I hope he gets back very quickly. Let's get into some comments from Tony. Tony's been sticking with us the whole time. Defensive player of the game with 11 tackles was Owens.
I would argue Jerry Hughes.
Okay, so Alex, who would you argue?
I would argue Jerry Hughes.
I would actually argue Christian Harris, the Alabama linebacker, selected in the third round. He had one big hit on Saquon, which stopped him in his tracks, and he also had another big hit as well. I like Christian Harris. I think he was their best player. Rob?
Yeah, I was going to say Hughes or Kirksey. He was involved in a lot of plays there. Jerry Hughes, though, seemed to be all over the damn place, but probably would go with Kirksey.
Okay. We never decided. My apologies. We never decided how long I leave the Giants logo up, so I'm going to leave it up until after the Dead Red podcast Thursday. As long as you keep it up after Monday, I think you more than lived up to your expectations.
Yes.
I think good job on your part there. Comment briefly on the Bills. The Bills lost at home with a lead at halftime for the first time since 1968. Wow.
Is that true?
He does a lot of research, so yeah, that's probably correct on Tony's part.
1968.
That's wild. That's a lot of football. So, yeah, so that was an interesting. That was such what a performance from Jefferson. Oh my God, you're so good.
And then Josh Allen took the game away.
Crazy good. I mean, I think they kind of deserved it. The Vikings. I mean, I've never seen Kirk Cousins actually throw like that before. He was like throwing genuine missiles, and Justin Jefferson was just playing like vintage Odell Beckham. So.
Is that multiple games where he's had 180? Yep. He's had 3 games now with 140 yards or more.
Glad he's on my fantasy team.
4 games.
He is disgusting.
Dude, he's had 100 in almost every single game.
Not this stuff again.
Oh no, we're not even going to acknowledge it again.
Cowboy judge.
We're not getting bombarded by former Giants coaches. Halloween passed. That was last week. We're not doing it.
Aren't the Patriots off this week?
That's probably why he's in the chat.
Maybe that's why he's in the comment. Hey, Joe, you be focusing on the game ahead. I'm pretty sure you got a little bit more work to do than trolling.
We didn't do any QB sneaks.
We didn't kneel at the end of the first half.
Yeah,
inside the 5-yard line. So
what about? This is my favorite. Was my man Brian Dable with the biggest balls in the world waterboarding.
Oh, he lit him up. He lit him up.
Jack Anderson, lock him up. What did you think of Brian Dable just destroying him on the sidelines?
I mean, I'll go first here. It's right. I mean, have we seen a coach like this hold his players accountable? The last few years have been filled with mistake after mistake. The Giants respectfully, listen, I'm happy we're 7-2. The Giants should have blew this game out in the first half. You know, how many drives? We were in Texans territory like more than once. And, you know, we had the chance. Okay, we're going to go for it. I love the 8 offensive lineman thing. I must say, I love it. I don't know why, but it's just, I've never seen that before. But then you get the false start. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. And then he's just sitting there unloading on him. And he would unload on any player. But, man, this is a guy he, like, knew from Buffalo. So it's not like this guy's a total stranger to him. But, man, you have to execute when you're in the game. Jack Anderson isn't a starter. And he was also, actually it was mainly on him. But he was also, I thought he was also going at the offensive line too for some things. But hey, you know what? Hold the players accountable. I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, we've seen him do it a few times already this year, where he's kind of lit people up on the sidelines. He was doing that a lot today. Yeah, he was doing that a lot today. He was kind of screaming a lot, but it was good to see him smile at the end of the game because it was like, calm down, Daves. You're going to give yourself a freaking aneurysm out there. So just, but I understand what he's doing because when a guy makes a mistake, you don't make them run laps, Joe Judge. You just, you got to let them know on the spot, I'm mad at you. You got to do your job, or you're going to get benched like Kenny Golladay. Basically, just you're going to get the punishment right away. So whatever Dable's doing, the players have to have his respect because if that wasn't the case, then we would have lost a lot of these games because they're playing tough and they're playing for their coach. They love what he's brought to the table here, and it's a change. The culture, there's that word again. The culture has changed.
Accountability, something that our mutual other team in New York doesn't preach. The New York Giants' new coaching staff is very accountable. The whole players accountable. I loved it because that was absolutely egregious. There's absolutely no excuse for what Jack Anderson did. Absolutely
benching.
Absolutely terrible football. And Brian Dable absolutely roasted him. He was literally set on fire on the sidelines, and he was probably cowering in the corner at halftime. He's like probably hiding in the cubicle in the bathroom. I'm taking a shit. He's locking himself in. He's like, don't talk to me, please. Dable was probably on the rampage at halftime because clearly they played like a different team. Because the first half they were diabolical to watch. Let's be honest. Second half it was much better. They cleaned it up a lot tighter offensively. But you're right. Accountability. Golladay benched. He had two opportunities. He failed. You're out. Jack Anderson, we gave you a chance. You failed. And that's what I need to see. I need to see accountability. You earn your reps. You earn your snaps. And you work hard and you deliver, then you're going to get opportunities. If you don't, and it doesn't matter what the name on the back of your jersey is. Kadarius Toney is in Kansas City. Golladay will no longer be a Giant very, very soon. I can pretty much guarantee you that. And that's how you get a culture, as Rob rightly says. So it was another big, big win for Brian Dable. And just an unbelievable coach. Phenomenal. Just, I love the man. I'd run through a wall for him. And I'd run through a wall for Wink Martindale too, because this defense is electric.
Yep. I love our coaching staff. Kafka, there's some work needs to be done. Obviously, he's not working with the greatest group of players of all time. Would like to see what he would do with Odell Beckham in his offense, but hopefully we'll have an answer to that question in a few weeks' time. It's coming close. He wants to narrow his teams down to the final at 4 or 5. It's us, Buffalo. There's the Chiefs.
49ers, Dallas.
And freaking Cowboys are in there. If I see him in a Cowboys jersey, I might throw up. Because I still have so much Odell gear that I would like to wear again.
Oh my God, Jeff Saturday just won for the Colts.
You know what? I made a bet. Donald will hold me accountable. I made a bet on the Boys Make Apple podcast that if the Colts won, I'd pick against the Raiders every single game the rest of the year. That's going to be done now.
Oh my God!
I gotta stop picking the Raiders. I'm pretty sure I picked them, and
I only picked the Colts. Let's see, Rob. Yeah, me and Rob, we both went the Raiders. How could we possibly won the Colts?
I'm never picking the Raiders again. They suck.
Stupid team.
They suck. What a disappointment!
Unbelievable. Did anybody have the Colts? Anybody have the Colts
besides Tony? I don't think so.
No. Team. That is absolutely outrageous. The Raiders are a disgrace.
Well, anyway, Jonathan Taylor runs for $150. Jesus.
They are such a disgrace. Anyway, let's get back to our running back. Forget Taylor because we got a better one in New York. His name is Saquon Barkley, he's like Superman. You know, he's like, put this team on my back. I'm taking you to the win. He is just electric. And he's getting stronger in the second half. Instead of like slowing down and being tired, he's getting stronger. That's terrifying. Like he was okay in the first, pretty good in the first half, absolutely electric in the second half. The dude is like Derrick Henry. Like he just picks it up and becomes like a train in the second half. You know what I mean? And he's impossible to bring down.
Yeah, I love him. I mean, we've seen it already in his rookie year. Even in the second year, he came back when he was dealing with a little bit of an injury. He still picked up just over 1,000 yards rushing, and he was still not as electric, but he was still good. And then the injuries piled up the next 2 years. But now that we're seeing him 100% healthy, you're seeing a better Saquon, honestly, than his rookie year because he's doing regular running back things. He's running through the tackles. He's not dancing around back there. He's like, okay, you think I dance too much? Let me show you that I don't have to. And he's just bulldozing people. Like he's looking like a bruiser and he's looking like an elusive back in like the same exact play. It's like you don't see that happen a lot. And the comparisons when he first came out in his rookie year, you're seeing him do things like Barry Sanders and Walter Payton. And it's like now you're kind of seeing it. I'm not going to say he's going to be them, but what he's doing, he's literally putting this team on his back week in and week out. Daniel Jones has been very good as well. But if we don't have Saquon Barkley, we're probably like 1-8, something like that. So he's literally been our offense. It's been fantastic.
He's a physical back this year. You know, he's not just, as you say, he's not just doing the Barry Sanders where he loses 5 yards, gains 70 next play. You know, he's literally becoming more of a physical guy, like a Walter Payton, Derrick Henry type, where he's bruising through. And he literally was 70% of our offensive snaps. Like the dude was just, it's just amazing what he's doing, man. It's like this stuff doesn't happen very often. There's only very few backs ever that can kind of do this, where in the modern NFL, where it's all about, you know, passing and throwing for 400 yards, we got a guy who's just taking the game by the scruff of the neck and just bulldozing his way through. Like you see it from the Titans, you see it from the Colts last year, not this year. We're seeing it from the Giants this year. It's just Saquon Barkley, and that's it. And it's miraculous. Alex?
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is the best version of Saquon we've seen. You know, his rookie year was outstanding. His second year, he still got to 1,000 yards, and you know there was still some dancing in there. But you know, he's cleaned up the dancing. He's cleaned up all the negative stuff. He's even a better pass blocker, which is so, you know, it's so prudent for this offense. I mean, I was watching one of the plays, and you know, I think somebody was coming off the left side, and he just went down like that just to try to flip that guy over. Shout outs to him and the coaching staff. I mean, he's the NFL's leading rusher right now. So if he doesn't get a Pro Bowl or any recognition, that's their fault, not ours. And someone was saying, you know, on Twitter, well, it doesn't really make sense to re-sign Saquon. And I'm like, that's not necessarily true, because if you're Daniel Jones or you're Anthony Richardson or you're someone else next year, right? Who are you throwing to if you don't have Saquon?
Who's the offense going to be without Saquon? You have to sign him, in my opinion.
This is kind of goes back to the whole thing about Jones, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but that's why I don't think they're going to bring a rookie into this, because what if something goes wrong in these negotiations? I don't think they will, but what if something goes south and they don't bring back Saquon? You put a rookie into this situation with no running back, potentially a rookie running back, and Darius Slayton might not even be back. Wan'Dale Robinson's your number one receiver. There's going to be zero shot, and you're basically doing the same thing the Giants did to Daniel Jones in years 1, 2, and 3. So you really can't have that happen. Saquon is this offense, and he makes Daniel Jones a better quarterback, because you can see him. He's a lot more confident now, knowing, okay, even if I can't get 11, 12 yards, if I just pick up 6 or 7, I can give it to 2-6, and he's going to get me the first down, and then rinse and repeat. And that's what we've done in a lot of our scoring drives. It's Daniel Jones will dink and dunk for a little bit. He'll hit the big play here and there, but it's going to be a lot of 2-6, and then Daniel Jones is going to maybe throw for a quick one to the tight end, or he's going to hit the bomb to Slayton or something like that. Or Saquon might just take it himself. But those two have developed such a good rapport with each other as quarterback, running back, and it's so important for this offense to work the way it's working.
Yeah, and I'm like to admit that I'm wrong on something finally. I mean, I should have admitted it first few games. When Daniel Jones came into the NFL and when Saquon really wasn't being too productive, probably between a little bit in his second year, which was Daniel's rookie year, and then obviously some of his third year, a little bit of his fourth year as well. Actually, yeah, fourth year technically, right? Which was 2021. I'm like, I think Saquon and Daniel Jones do not have some sort of rapport like like Eli and Saquon did, because Saquon, I just thought he was generally more productive, maybe because he had a chemistry with him. I've overturned my thoughts on that. Those two have a rapport now. Giving the ball to Saquon, throwing the ball to Saquon in terms of checkdowns. So I'm ultimately, and I don't say this a lot, but he's ultimately a must. He needs to come back next year.
Oh, 100%. I think he will. Well, it's 100% either going to get tagged or extended. There's not a scenario where we allow him to hit free agency. I can't imagine that. He has to be extended, in my opinion.
He said after the game he wants to be a Giant for life.
Let's get it wrapped up. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's make 2-6 a Giant for life. But I think that's going to do it for us here at Nerd and Out Sports. Thank you once again to Alex for joining us, as he usually does on these victory streams. Always good to talk about wins. Jacob, thank you for popping in. We're just about to leave, but we do appreciate you popping in for the stream. Hopefully you enjoyed the Giants game as well, and if you want to watch back, see some of our key points, you can go ahead and do that. But for Donald, for Alex, first of all, check out Alex, Big Blue in the Bronx. Make sure to check out the Boys in the Big Apple every Monday night with Donald and Luca. They'll be breaking down some Giants football. Not really much to talk about with the Jets because they didn't play. They'll probably talk about the Yankees.
The Knicks,
talk about the Knicks, who actually got obliterated by the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm going to let you hear about that right now. So I'm just going to say real quick, we kicked your ass. Anyway, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe to the Boys in the Big Apple. Subscribe to the Pinstripe Chronicles, where we talk Yankees baseball. Thank you once again, of course, to Tony for being in the chat the whole time. Good game once again to your Houston Texans. I'll show my Giants helmet as well. Might as well. And that is it. We'll see you all next time. Let's go, G-Men.
Let's go, G-Men. 7-2.